Hi, everybody. This is Jennifer Palmer. I wanted to talk today about the 7 common mistakes that are preventing your breakthrough. And while I'm going to be focusing a lot on health-related topics, this could be true of probably just about anything you're going through in your life. So the first big thing I want to talk about, the one of 7, is being in judgment of yourself or others. And that's just such a really difficult space to be in. When you're in judgment of someone, you're not in a loving space. And it does not mean that you need to love what everybody is doing all the time, but being in a forgiveness and a loving, open, heart-centered, compassionate space opens you up to all the doors that need to open. So when you're in judgment of somebody or yourself, you're not seeing the doors, you're not opening those doors, and you're not able to find where you need to go because you're too busy focusing on the negative things. So when you're in judgment about anything, and we all do it, this is not a criticism in any way, because we all get into judgment. Try to find within yourself what is awareness about that person that you're judging, whether it's yourself or somebody else. What are you in awareness of around that situation? And then how are you taking it further than awareness and creating a judgment around it? And then try to delineate that and really move beyond the idea that you need to judge what's showing up in front of you. You'll know awareness versus judgment, because in awareness, you can just really be in a loving space and just know that, okay, so that thing is happening, or I feel this way about myself, or that person over there is behaving this way, or has these traits. And then when it becomes judgmental, that's when you know you're in judgment and you're trying to push it a little too far, really. And you're taking it from an awareness to a more emotional state. And so when you do that, you can quickly acknowledge it and see when you do it, and then just bless them, bless the situation, bless yourself, bless them, and choose to step out of that judgment and try to figure out what are you actually in awareness of. So that's what I would recommend for the number 1, being in judgment of self or others. The second most common mistake is losing faith in yourself or in God or the universe. So it is so easy to lose faith when things don't work out and you feel like you're running a marathon and it's just not working. It's just not working. And you just start losing faith because it's too much to hope, and it hurts you to hope and then get let down. But I will tell you, you will never get where you want to go without faith. You need to really trust and believe that there's a reason for why you are where you are and that you're going to figure it out. And the patience that go along with having faith, so that as each wave of difficulty comes before you've overcome the challenge, you're able to handle it and it won't take you out. Faith is really such a beautiful foundation on a spiritual level, because if you don't have faith, you're not going to overcome whatever it is. And spiritually speaking, we are meant to overcome things. We are meant to work through, we're meant to dive in and heal and clear things and learn and grow. And it's meant to be a challenge. It doesn't mean it has to be a struggle, but it is meant to be a challenge. So move in and open up your faith. Have faith in the process. Don't put all your faith and hopes and dreams in an outcome. Have faith in your process and know that the outcome, maybe even better than you could ever imagine, is going to happen as long as you don't lose your faith. Okay, so that was number 2. Number 3 is when you focus on that struggle or difficulty. That is so important. Don't make that mistake. And it's easy because, like I said, especially if you've been facing a challenge or different versions of the same challenge and you can't seem to really get ahead or overcome the issue, we tend to really focus on the struggle and on the difficulty because, well, who doesn't? I mean, it's hard, and you don't want to lie to yourself. You want to be really aware of, okay, well, this is what's happening, and I'm frustrated. I'm done with this. I'm ready to move on. But clearly you're not done with whatever it's meant to show you. And so when you find yourself focusing on the struggle, because we all do, catch it as quickly as you can and choose to focus differently. Choose to focus on something else, something more positive if you can. And it's going to be really hard if you're really down in it to come up and be really high. So if you're really low, getting really high, that's a feat. That's really difficult. So even if you can just inch up and then work at inching up, finding ways to inch up and getting energy healing. And, that really helps, getting a clearing entities and beings that are around you, or taking other people's cords and hooks and things off. It all really helps. So, sometimes we get in that space because of just all the bombardment of energies around us, and we can't even process ourselves because we're handling everybody else's. So really work through that, try to figure out if that's what you're doing, and so you can get more clear-minded and clear-hearted so that you can work through your own struggles and difficulties without the added stress and strain, and to find more positivity in your life. So that was number 3. Number 4 is staying in fight, flight, or freeze. And that's an important one because it gets us out of the parasympathetic. And we end up really getting into this awful space in our body where we're just constantly experiencing stress. And one of the things that my guides have said, they call it the victim pendulum. And if you've heard me speaking, you might have heard me talk about this idea of the victim pendulum. The victim pendulum, we all are experiencing the archetype of victim. So it's not saying, oh, you're acting like a victim, or it's, we all get victimized. Things happen. Life is not really fair. It just doesn't, but we're meant to learn from those times that we feel it's not fair. And that victim pendulum, if you can think about my hands as a pendulum, and you have it, the pendulum is going left or right. And on this side, it's all about, I'm so sad. I feel like a doormat. Woe is me. These bad things happen, and I have no control, no power. And, so you're completely powerless. On the opposite side is, I'm so angry. I need to build boundaries. I need to do these things. I'm going to get in my power, and this is going to happen. It's force, right? But you're still doing it through this lens of, you're doing these things to me, or the universe is doing these things to me, and now this, right? So it's not good. And what a lot of people end up doing, because they don't know how to resolve those two opposites, they come to the center and they just don't feel. And they don't want to feel sad, they don't want to feel angry, so they just don't feel, but it doesn't resolve the problem, and you're completely still disempowered. All of those behaviors are disempowered. And the idea is to get into your divine power and move up above the idea of this pendulum so that you can actually overcome the whole reason why you're experiencing the situation, right? So if you're staying in that fight, flight, or freeze, or that victim pendulum, then you're not moving forward. So look for ways that you can get off of that pendulum, find higher meanings and higher wisdom for what you're going through, and really, try to anchor up into that higher space and get out of that victim state as soon as you recognize that you're in it. And like I said, we all get in it. Even the best of us, we get into that space, even if it's for just a few minutes. So as soon as you catch it, get into action. Don't sit in it. Okay. So that was number 4. Number 5 is having unrealistic expectations, right? So I used to say an unrealistic expectation is that I'm going to become like a singing rock star because, I don't exactly have the best singing voice. So for me to become a singing wonder would just be an absolute miracle. And it's also not really my passion. So that's okay. There's that. That would be an unrealistic expectation to think that I'm going to become an overnight rock star. And it doesn't mean I can't dream if it was in my desire to do that. And if I had the gift, then yes, that would be a realistic possibility. But that unrealistic expectation, are there miracle healings that happen in an instant? Yes, that does happen sometimes. The vast majority of times, though, it's really more about the process that you're working through when you're trying to get to that other side of the issue. That process is what you're here for. And honoring and loving that process, and not expecting something on the other side of it is usually when you get that thing that you would really like to have on the other side of it. But even if you want to have some expectations, like, I have this health issue and I really want to heal, that's an expectation. Try not to be too attached to it and try not to be unrealistic in it. So maybe, I'm about to turn 50. So maybe there is some way where I can reverse age and look like I'm in my 20s, but to just come out there and say it, with maybe going through a month of energy healing and thinking, okay, I'm going to look like I'm 20 again. That's an unrealistic expectation. But maybe I might be able to reverse enough of my aging so that I might be able to look 5 or 10 years younger. Okay, maybe. And maybe that's not so unrealistic. So aim for something that's a challenge, but not unrealistic is the point. So that is number 5. Number 6 is don't close yourself off to the possibilities, though. So the opposite side of that is a lot of times we just think, well, then I'm not going to heal. That's too difficult. This one doctor says I'm going to have X, Y, and Z for the rest of my life. And so there's just no way. You're closing all the possible doors. And maybe you won't heal. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe it's something that is just you're not meant to heal from, and it's meant to be difficult. Maybe. But if that's the case, and there's other possibilities within that circumstance that you need to look at, there are reasons why you're in the situation you're in. And to hide from that or to close the doors to that, it's a waste of the experience. So get everything you can from this experience and open up to all possibilities that you might need to embrace to get the most out of it. So that is number 6. Number 7 is assuming that you can heal without changing who you are, or really bringing anything into your life. You are where you are because of the way you've been in the past. And, that could be said of even traumas that have happened to you that seem like it weren't, it's out of your control. There are things that you've come in with in this lifetime to experience, and some of them not easy. And, if you assume that, I don't know, let's say someone had cancer, and it's not to say that someone deserves cancer or anything like that, so please don't take it that way. That's not at all the point here, but that cancer is serving, or whatever the struggle is, it's serving in some way. There's something you're meant to get out of it and to understand with it. And, it could be something simple. It could be something, multiple things, and it becomes more complex. It just really depends on the situation. But whatever it is, you will not be able to get to where you want to go by being who you were in the past. And that might mean that you need to change things in the physical, like diet or lifestyle, things like that. Or you might need to change your mind and look at things differently. A lot of people look at situations or look at things and they're like, well, my truth is this. It's funny. I don't believe in there's my truth and your truth. I don't believe in that. What I believe is there's my perspective and there's your perspective. There might be partial truth in both of those, but there's only one absolute truth. So if you look at how you think and how you feel as a perspective instead of a truth feels like, I'm not changing this. This is my truth, and I'm going to defend it for the rest of my life. When you're inflexible like that, it's really hard to change who you are. It's really hard to flow and to learn and to grow. You really do need to get flexible and to be willing to challenge your belief system and your perspectives and to see, well, maybe, I had part of that right, but maybe there's more to the understanding. And if I had more to the understanding, I would change my viewpoint a little bit. My truth, what I used to call my truth, would change. Truths don't change. Perspectives do. So the truth is the truth is the truth. How you see that truth is what can change. And I really encourage you to figure out ways in which you would like to grow and change. How can you think like that person you want to be? How can you be more like that? How can you act more like that? How can you feel more like that? So you have to embrace what that is before it can even happen. So if you want to heal your body and you want to be a certain health level or a certain way, you have to embrace it and envision it and become it within before it happens in reality a lot of times. So, and that's not easy because we all are habitual in the way we look at things. And it becomes a practice to really question and see if there's something else we can do to grow and expand and become greater than we were. So I highly recommend diving in and doing that self-consciousness work and becoming greater than you ever thought you could be, because you're going to be so amazed at what comes in your life. All right. So those were my 7 common mistakes that are preventing your breakthrough. And I hope that you found these valuable. And if you want any support, any kind of session or coaching, or any of my classes or meditations, feel free to click on the links below and find more information. All right. Bye.